Hey guys. Alright, so okay, let's get my face put a little makeup on today. That way, you know, I don't look like a scrub in my next couple of videos. So that's what we're gonna do. Y'all come on in if y'all wanna join. We are gonna use this L'Oreal Bloomy Lotion for my moisturizer. I like it because it kind of like has a little bit of a tint to it. So it doesn't give a lot of coverage, but it gives like a little something, you know. Because today's not a day where I'm gonna put on a bunch of makeup. I'm just gonna kind of let my natural beauty shine through today. But I put up parts 17 and 18 or 18 and 19, I can't remember, of my life story are up. So if you guys have been waiting on that, those parts are up right now and you can watch them. The reason why, hey Blunts, I couldn't put them up earlier is because I was post-banned. So I'm sorry that y'all had to wait for so long. I did go into more detail about why I was sent to prison, or what kind of prison I was sent to, and why they chose that prison. Bottom line, basically it was because I was a first-time offender. Hey Dave. I was a first-time offender, and they didn't want to put me in like a prison where there was a lot of people that were violent offenders, okay? And so they put me in a non-violent offender prison. But anyways, either way, going to prison sucks ass. Sucks ass, okay guys? And I wouldn't wish it on my worst fucking enemy. So I did a year in prison. I volunteered as tribute while I was there. What do you mean by that? I mean that in the prison that I was locked up in, it was a non-violent offenders prison, and it was also a boot camp. So it was a therapeutic community. The prison was there to teach us how to re-enter into society and make better choices in the people that we kept around us, okay? So, hey Blunts, come on in. I'm going to talk to you guys about the prison that I was in. So, basically, they were trying to teach us, you know, to hold the people around us accountable that we're doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing, therefore making better choices in our own life. It was state prison. And so part of the rules there was that I was learning how to, you know, stick up for myself and you had to confront people, okay? So part of the program was confronting the other inmates, okay, when they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. And that confrontation was called confrontation group. Okay, this was a therapeutic community, and you were supposed to confront the person with what they did, their offense, and then you would tell that person that they needed to not do that behavior. And if they kept doing it, then you would take them to the floor. Okay, taking the person to the floor would be on a Friday. We would meet, all the inmates would meet. And we would all there would be a huge meeting in the the gym, where we would have to go there in front of all the guards, and they would go through this box of tickets, right? Because the inmates had to write tickets on each other. And so one of the things that I fucked up and did was I was like, y'all can write tickets on me because no matter what, I'm going home. You know what I mean? Because I was a short timer. I was there for a year or less. And so I was like, y'all can just write me up and I'll just take the tickets. Because I was trying to help the other girls that were there for like 4 years, 6 years and shit like that. Wrong thing to do. So these bitches started writing me up for all kinds of shit, y'all. All kinds of shit, and taking me to the floor. Now, no matter what, they couldn't get me in trouble. No matter what, I was going home at my TE date, okay? But they still took advantage of it and was writing me up all the time. One time in particular, they wrote me and my friend Catherine up for sexually acting out. Sexually acting out, okay? That's not good when you're locked up, because that's a bit, you can get in trouble for doing the lesbian shit. And so I wasn't a lesbian, and so that really pissed me off, dude. It pissed me off because I didn't want that shit on my record, you know? That's one thing that I did not do when I went to prison, was have a girlfriend, you know? I did not want a girlfriend. I didn't want anything to do with that shit. I didn't hang out with girls who were having girlfriends. Like, I stayed to myself. Because the girls that had girlfriends, y'all, they were all about drama. It was always somebody fighting about so-and-so's girlfriend. And so I didn't want no part of that, you know? So anyways, at one point we all got in trouble. The whole compound got in trouble. I don't remember what happened, but something happened, dude. And they put us on lockdown. And what I mean by that is we were all made to stand up and use our toothbrushes, or use a toothbrush to clean the walls in our units. And we had to do that for 24 hours straight. The only breaks you got was to go pee and go eat something. And then you had to get right back on the floor and start scrubbing the wall with a toothbrush. Okay? This is in prison. All right? I don't know if somebody got caught with something that they smuggled in or what. I don't remember. But it was a big deal because we were all pissed that we had to do that. That was right before I got out. About a month later, I got out of prison and I paroled out to a sober living house in Little Rock called Williamsburg, RCA Williamsburg. And the reason why I paroled out to that place was because my friend Scott was living there. My friend Scott had gotten sober. We both got sober at the same time, and then we relapsed together. We lost contact with each other. And then he found out from my mom that I was in prison and started writing me. He was my gay best friend. Hey you guys, I see y'all. So he started writing me and he told me about the sober living and how I should come and stay there too. So that way we could stay sober together. And I was like, hell yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I would love to do that, you know? And so after my time was up, I paroled out there. And also, just so you guys know, the state of Arkansas wouldn't let me come back to Garland County. Like, they banned me from my own county. And so I couldn't go back to this county I was from. So I paroled out to the sober living house, and I'll never forget it, you guys. I made a fucking fast friend. When I got there, I made friends with this girl named Christina, but her nickname was Cricket. And then there was this guy named Trevor there. There was a guy named Chad. There was a girl named Ashley, another girl named Tanya, a girl named Jennifer. Anyways, we all became such good friends. We did everything together in sober living. We went to meetings together. We went and ate together. Like, we became friends. Well, me and Cricket had gotten really close, and she was pregnant, and I didn't know who she was pregnant by. But kind of some of the drama that was going on was she was saying that she was pregnant with this guy Trevor's baby that was there too. Come to find out, it wasn't his baby. She had been pregnant when she got there. But that was part of the drama of the sober living, you know? So anyway, when I got there, I was serious. Like, I wanted to stay sober, and I knew I had to change my life. The first, 60 to 90 days, I went to hang out with my friend Cricket over at a hotel room, and she had relapsed on meth. And so guess what happened? I relapsed too. I relapsed on meth, and then I went back to the sober living, and I told on myself, and they sent me to treatment. So I haven't even been out of prison for 6 months yet, you guys, and I've already relapsed on methamphetamine. Okay, so they let me go to the rehab that was attached to the treatment center, because they had a rehab too. And so I went to the rehab and I stayed there for 30 days, got back out, moved back into sober living, and started my job working for Kroger, and I was doing really good. I was staying sober, and I got real serious. After that relapse, I was like, man, I gotta get serious, or else I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. And so I got serious, and I started, really, really working on my sobriety. I got a sponsor. I started going to meetings. I was just really fucking into it. Well, then guess who came around? One day I was outside smoking a cigarette, and I seen this boy standing outside smoking cigarettes too. And he had a bald head. His right arm was completely sleeved out. He had on a white polo V-neck shirt, dark wash blue jeans with a pair of Timberland boots and a pair of sunglasses on. And I, of course, my fucking ass walked over to them and I was like, hey, what's your name? My name's Nicole. And he was like, my name's Joe. And I was like, oh, what's up, man? And so I gave him my number. No, LD's already dead. He's already been killed in a car accident. So Joe's standing there and I'm like, what's up, man? Trying to get to know him a little bit. And he is super cute, you guys. Joe is on federal probation, okay? And he's living at the Fed sober living, which is like a mile down the road or something. But they have all the federal boys coming over to our place to do treatment, to do the IOP classes. And so, me and Joe, we started getting to know each other, and he called me on he had this like whole burner phone, because they're not even allowed to have phones in the Feds thing. And so, of course, I was like, why don't you call me? And he called me, and we stayed up on the phone, and we talked. And you know how it is when you first get sober, and you start you find a guy that you're attracted to. And so that was what it was like for me. See, part of the thing that happened to me when I was in prison was I gained a bunch of weight. And so when I got out of prison, I went on this whole fucking health food kick, and I started working out. And every day I would go to my job at 6 a.m. I would get off work at 2. I would come home to my house, my room, change my clothes, and go walk the Big Dam Bridge, which is a huge bridge, and it was hot as fuck outside. It was damn near April. It was hot. Or July, and it was just a lot. Well, I ended up losing 65 pounds, and this is all during the time that I was starting to talk to Joe. Joe, I was like, why don't you come over? I had just moved out of the sober living and into the apartments next door. So the way this sober living was set up was they had a sober living building where you had a roommate, and we went to IOP classes. And then next door, they owned the apartment buildings next door. And so the way they did it was they rented out the apartment buildings to people that had 6 months to a year sober. And so I was like, oh shit, I want to move out. I want to get my own place. And so I moved out into the sober living apartments next door. Well, I called Joe and I'm like, I live in the apartments now. Boy, you could come over to my apartment and hang out. Hey, Nate, it's just a game. So he came over, and he came over a couple times, and it was all good in the hood. Well, then guess what happened? He came over one day, and we was getting freaky. And so we were fixing to have sex, and he pulled off his pants, and that's when he fucking pulled off his prosthetic leg. And I was like, dude, was you not going to tell me that you didn't have a leg? Were you never going to tell me that? You just wait until we're fixing to fuck and then you take your leg off? I mean, it didn't matter to me if he had a fake leg or not, But it was so fucking crazy because we're literally fixing to fuck and he fucking pulls his leg off. And I'm just this dude can do anything. He can walk without his leg. I'm not even lying to you guys. He would swing that little thing and walk without any prosthetic on. Like he had lost his leg in a motorcycle accident. He had a motorcycle accident when he was like 15 or 16, and he lost his leg. So he was really used to not having it. One of the reasons why he was in prison, or had been in prison in the feds, was for methamphetamine, okay? So, and he was like, he got in trouble many times after that, you guys. Once we became really good friends, he, we started dating. He got arrested after I got sober again, and then he fucking went to prison, and then he got out, and then he went again. So he's been back to prison like 3 or 4 times since I've been out of prison. So anyway, he pulls his leg off. I'm like, what the hell? He's like, hey, I have a fake leg. I'm like, it's all good. And so I really liked this guy. Well, he gets caught at my apartment, not by the people at my sober living, but by the feds. And so he gets sent back to jail for 90 days, or 30 days or 90 days. I think it was 90. I can't remember, but he gets sent back to jail. He has to go back to county jail, okay? So he goes back to county jail, and y'all already know, if y'all didn't know, I'm a ride or die type ass bitch, okay? If my man goes to jail, I'm holding it down. And so while he's in jail, I'm out here getting fine. I'm losing my weight. I'm walking every day. I'm writing him letters. He's writing me letters. Hey, Nate, it's okay. Nate, stop. I know my brain is stupid, Nate, but stop. He's upset because he lost the game or something. I can hear him in there. So anyway, like I was out working out and getting myself in shape, and he went into jail. And I remember this because me and this dude, I spent like damn near my whole active addiction with this guy. I didn't meet my husband until 2012, and then my husband and I got sober in 2015. So my whole active addiction after I got out of prison was with Joe. So he goes to jail. I'm holding him down because I'm just that kind of girl. And he gets out of jail, and he gets his own place. And he gets his own apartment, like his real deal Holyfield apartment. And when he gets this apartment, he calls me over, and I'm helping him decorate and everything. And he calls me over, and he gives me a spare key to his apartment. He trusts me. And y'all, that meant so much to me. I was like, okay, I understand. But at the same time, he says that we're not serious. We're not boyfriend and girlfriend, right? But he gives me a key to his apartment. That's the kind of dude he was. Like, I loved him. And he would never like take the jump with me. But he ended up telling me that he loved me. He ended up, like, it was just so crazy because he was so afraid to commit to me, and I was such a good girlfriend to him. Like, I was just ride or die, you know? And so, anyway, at this point, I'm sober. You know, I'm staying sober. And he gets his own place, and he's staying sober, too. I don't know when we relapsed or why we relapsed, but we both ended up relapsing. Not with each other, but separately. And then I was back on meth. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but my opiate addiction, I mean, I had an addiction to opiates when I lived in Hot Springs, but it wasn't as bad as it was when I moved to Little Rock, where I was at, right? Well, I started shooting meth, and then I started shooting oxys. So I was over at my friend Ashley's house, who lived in the apartment next to me, right? Yeah. Okay, Nate, hold on. She was also in sober living too. Nate, don't slam your door. I'll take it off the hinges, and you won't even have a door. You hear me? Nate, I will unscrew it with a screwdriver. Now stop. You're not even that strong. Anyway, so I don't know what happened, but we both ended up relapsing, okay? And so I started, oh yeah, I know what happened to me, okay? I was over at my friend Ashley's house and my friend Jennifer. We all lived in the apartments, okay, the sober living apartments. So these are attached to the sober living. Like, we have to stay sober in order to, they're not attached physically, but they're a part of the sober living. So in order to live there, we have to stay sober, okay? And so I went over to my friend Ashley's house and I noticed that her and Jennifer were on Roxy's. Like, they had already relapsed. Nobody told me about it because I was super serious about staying sober, you know what I mean? And so I would have been the last person to tell. Well, one night I went over and Ashley was struggling trying to shoot up her Roxy and she couldn't hit herself. Now, one thing that I have been known for through my addiction was that I could shoot anyone up. I could shoot myself up. I could fucking stand like in the fucking pure black of the night and hit myself without any lights on. Like, no problems whatsoever. I've done it many a times in my husband's truck, driving down the street in the middle of the night. And so she was like, I just can't hit myself. And I was like, girl, it's all good. And I'll help you out, you know. And this is where my recovery had already started slacking because I was hanging out with Joe all the time. I was skipping meetings to go be around Joe. I wasn't calling my sponsor so I could go be with Joe. Like, I was letting my recovery fall to the wayside. I was working a lot of hours, so I also wasn't, you know, taking care of my recovery because I was too busy working my job and making money. So I shoot her up, and then I said to her, do you got another one? And she said, yeah. And I was like, can I get it? I want to take it. And she said, sure. And so she taught me how to break it down because I had never broke down a Roxy before. And I broke it down and I shot it up, and that was all it took. I was back to the races. That feeling that I got when I went into my veins, that fucking warm, fuzzy feeling, and just like, I was like, where do I sign up? Where do I get more of these? Like, so that's all it took, you guys. That was all it took. So now me, Ashley, and Jennifer are all dipping and dodging the counselor. Our counselor's name is Kim. And she's like trying to get a hold of all of us because we're supposed to come by and check in, you know. Once a week we would go in and check in because we don't have to go to the IOP classes anymore because we've graduated. Like, we're kind of like the ones that have the most time sober out of the whole sober living. And so we're dipping and dodging. We're like trying not to run into Miss Kim. Because we know if we run into her, she can just tell by looking at you that you fucked up. You know what I mean? And if she called me out, I was going to be like, yes, I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Well, in between the time that I fucked up and that she finally caught me, she called me and she said, my daughter needs a job. This is my counselor. And I'm like, really? And she said, yeah, you're the manager of the deli at Kroger. Do you think you could help her out? And I was like, sure, send her down there and I'll give her an interview, right? Well, of course, I gave her an interview and I ended up hiring her, getting my boss to like approve her. And so she began working with me. Well, I became like best friends with my counselor's daughter, okay? So my counselor's daughter knows that I've relapsed. Like, I am heavy, y'all. I've relapsed on Xanax, everything. I'm shooting meth, I'm shooting Roxy's, I'm eating Xanax bars. I'm eating Xanax to the point where I'm going to my job and I'm like fucked up. Like, I'm looking all googly eyed and shit. And so one day, her name was Brittany. One day Brittany comes into work and she goes, my mom wants you to call her. And I was like, well, you know I'm going to get kicked out. And she was like, I know, just call her and just get it over with, you know. So I called her mom and I told her I relapsed. And she told me, you know, you're going to have to move out of the apartments. If you want to go back to treatment, you can come back through the sober living, but you have to, you know, you need to get help. I was like, no, man, I'm good. And I said, fuck it. And I looked at Brittany, I said, I'm kicked out. She said, you want to move in with me? I said, fuck yeah. And so I moved in with my counselor's daughter. I moved in with Brittany and I started renting a room from her. I fixed up my room real nice, and then guess what? I maybe slept there like 2 nights. That's it. Because guess where I was staying? With Joe. I was staying with Joe, okay? And so, I mean, me and Joe, we had a whole we were like, he was welding and he had to be at work at like 5 a.m. and I was working at Kroger. And so we had our little schedule. Every Sunday we would have crab legs and we would watch movies together. I mean, we just had our little life. I felt like we just had our little life figured out. Well, I guess he didn't think that we did, because he started like seeing other girls from Plenty of Fish. Okay, I remember I was about to turn, it was my 30th birthday. And I was excited because we were spending my 30th birthday together, me and Joe. And I was over at Tara's house and I was crying because I was like, why won't he fucking be my boyfriend? Why won't he love me like I love him? You know, and it really hurt my feelings. I turned 30 years old and I cried because I felt like I was 30 years old. I should have more to show for, you know? He just didn't appreciate me, man. He didn't appreciate me. Well, I found out that he was, you know, hooking up with bitches off of Plenty of Fish. So guess what I did? I made me a Plenty of Fish account. I mean, shit, if he's not gonna be my man, I'm gonna have fun too. And so I made myself a plentyoffish.com account and I started fucking meeting dudes off there. I'm talking like every night I would have a different guy over. It was so bad, you guys. It was bad. It was bad. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. At one point, I even told Joe, I said, let's see who can hook up with the most bitches. Let's see who can get the most hookups. And so here we are racing each other to see who can get the most hookups. Of course I won. I mean, I don't even know why he tried to compete with me. So I am crying though inside. Like I'm dying because I want him to be I love him. Like I'm in love with this dude. Okay? And I've told him this and it's starting to get weird because like I'm telling him that I love him and he's like holding out. Well, one day I went over to his apartment because I have my own key and I was cleaning up, and then he got home from work and we decided to like rent some movies and like hang out, and we were having sex, you know, and he told me that he loved me. And I was like, finally, I knew it. I knew he loved me. I knew he loved me. You know what I mean? And I was like, why haven't you told me that? Like, you know that I love you, and why have you been holding out on me, man? And he's like, I'm just afraid because okay, so he had a girlfriend before me when he lived in Jonesboro, okay? And she cheated on him so bad, you guys. I'm talking to where when I first met him, he would talk about it and it hurt him that bad, right? Well, he told me, you know, it's because I don't want you to cheat on me. I see how you are. I see what you do, Nicole. Like, I know you. You're a big flirt. Like, we had just become such good friends that I was just my authentic self around him. You know what I mean? Like, I was just myself. And so he knew how I was. He knew that I flirted with everybody. Everybody. The cash register dude, I'm talking to him and being flirty. And it's not because I'm trying to hook up with the cash register dude. That's just the way I am. Like with everyone. Y'all see how I am with you guys? That's just my personality. Like I love you guys. You know, y'all are my friends. And when I meet people, like I'm kind to them. And that's just how I've always been. Well, when he told me he loved me, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. And guess what happened? I was obsessed even more. Okay, I was obsessed even more. Well, one night he needed me to drive him to Jonesboro because he was going to pick up some stuff from his dealer there in Jonesboro, from this guy that cooked meth. And so, of course, I was like, I'll take you. We can go together. I'll drive. And so we got high and we drove to Jonesboro together, okay? It's like a 3-hour drive, okay? It's not a small drive. And so we're driving there and we're listening to music. And, you know, even though I know he's not going to be my boyfriend, I still know that he loves me. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that he loves me. And so that's all I needed to know. Well, also, he takes me to his fucking hometown and introduces me to his mom, his stepdad, his brother, his friends, like everybody, okay? I know his mom because his mom and I got to know each other when he was locked up for his revocation, okay? And so I'm happy. I'm content that I finally got him to admit that he loved me. You know what I'm saying? Like, finally. So he takes me to Jonesboro. I meet all his friends. I meet his dude that makes the meth. And we get really, really high over at this dude's house. Okay? And I didn't even shoot up because he hated when I shot up. So I wouldn't shoot up when I was with him. I was just smoking. We went over to this dude's house and we got the meth, and I sat there and I smoked a couple of hits off the bowl. I don't know what the fuck this shit had in it, y'all, but it was strong as fuck. And I shot meth, so I don't know if it was some new kind of shit or what, but it was like, I remember I got so high, I immediately went into fucking scared paranoia. Okay, so he was like, all right, man, see you later. And it was like in this like fucking house that was up some stairs off the main road. It was crazy, down like an alley kind of way. And so we leave that dude's house and he's like, I want to take you to the tattoo shop that I used to work at, and I'm going to get a tattoo and I'll introduce you to my friends, right? And I'm like, okay. And we go to this tattoo shop, you guys, and I am freaking the fuck out. Like, I am so afraid. I am seeing the cops across the street. I am seeing, I know that the FBI and the feds are on our ass. They are following us everywhere. Like, I am legit fucking scared for my life, okay? Scared for my life. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I smoke too much. I don't know, but I'm like, seriously, there's someone coming after us. I know it. They're coming for us. They're following us. He's like, damn it, Nicole. He's pissed because he knows that my ass is just tripping because I smoke too much. But I don't know that. I'm tripping for real because I really think that there's people coming for us. So we get in my car and I try to drive us back to Little Rock. The whole time I'm driving, I'm watching in the rear view mirror. I can't even look at the fucking road in front of me because I'm looking at the road behind me. I'm looking at who's following us. I'm watching the fucking different cars. It's so fucking scary, dude. Like, I swear to you guys, like, I was so scared, I didn't know what to do. So he says, pull over. And I pull over and he takes over and starts driving. Okay, I am scared for my fucking life, y'all. Like, I'm scared as hell because I know there's people back there. I know they are. I know they're back there. I know they're coming for us. And he's pissed now. And so we are fighting because he's upset with me because we were having so much fun, and then I start to ruin it by thinking people are coming after us, right? Well, we get back to his apartment and we get inside the apartment and I'm still thinking people are coming for us. And he's so mad at me, you guys. Like, I think this was when he finally was just like, this is the last straw with this girl. Like, I can't fucking put up with her. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell he had had enough with me, and he was kind of like washing his hands of me because he like didn't care that I was upset or scared. You know what I'm saying? And he was pissed. He was pissed because I fucking ruined it. Well, he left that next morning to go to work, and then I ended up going back to Brittany's house, and everything just changed after that day. It changed. Like, I could tell that he didn't give a fuck about me. You know what I mean? Or he didn't want to deal with me. And so I moved out of my friend Brittany's house, and I moved into my friend Tara's house. Oh, shucky ducky. The reason why I moved out of Brittany's house is because I was literally paying $400 a month, and I was not even staying there, and she didn't get high. So I couldn't like use at her house without feeling guilty. And so I moved out of her house and moved in with my friend Tara, and I went on a fucking crack smoking binge, okay? I'm smoking so much crack, dude. Like, I'm spending like $600 at one time on crack cocaine, okay? I'm smoking so much crack that, like, when I run out, if there's a guy with us, like, I'm begging him to buy more. You know what I'm saying? If I run out and I know the guy that's with us has money, like, I'm sucking it to get some more crack. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I just want to smoke crack all day, every day. And so at the same time, though, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm going to my job, y'all. I'm going to my job and I'm smoking the crack-a-lacka like it's going out of style. All right? And so Tara knew that I was a fucking perfect candidate to take advantage of to move into her house, that she could get free drugs. You know what I mean? Because I just could not stop doing drugs. Like, I was going to be doing drugs all day, every day, no matter what. So moving in with her was perfect. Perfect. One night we have over this dude, he's a crack dealer, and he had like a crush on me or whatever, you know. So we have him over and we're fucking smoking, and it was so weird because we're smoking, he brings his friend over, me and her are like smoking and then like hooking up with them, and it's like this whole crazy like menage a trois kind of like sex-filled night of crack, cocaine, and sex. Believe me, it was not fun. It was like I was totally degrading myself, you know, but I didn't care because I just wanted the crack. I just wanted the crack, and that's all that mattered. Eventually, what ends up happening is I am getting to a point where like I am just I'm getting to a point where like I just can't hold it down anymore. Like, I'm smoking so much crack and I'm going so insane, and I'm like going into my job and people are noticing that there's something wrong. Like, I'm not right, you know what I mean? And so I go to Tara and I tell her, like, I can't do this anymore. I have to get out of here. I got to get help. And so I call my old sponsor, Robin, and I said, can you help me? I need to go back to treatment. And so she helps me get back into treatment at the same place that I went to treatment in the first place. I get back into Williamsburg. I move back in there, and I go to the treatment, the rehab, and I do 30 days. And when I come out, I know I can't come out and move back in with Tara because I just can't, dude. Like, I know for sure I'm not going to stay sober living with her, right? And so I was like, fuck it, man. I called her and I told her, I can't live with you anymore. I'm moving out. Like, I'm moving out. I'm calling my family, and I got to do something different. So I called my mom and dad, and I'm like, can I come live with you? I need to do something different. And of course, my parents are not having that shit. They're like, no, you can't live with us. You know, you need to find somewhere to go that's conducive to your sobriety, but it can't be here. And so I'm like, fuck, you know? So I call my old sponsor, Robin, again. I'm like, Robin, what do you think about me moving in with you? Okay? And she wanted to help me so bad. So she's like, can you pay $400 a month rent? And I'm like, yep. And she's like, okay, as long as you don't use, you can move in. All right? And so I'm like, yes, I'm moving in. I'm going to stay sober. I'm going to change my life. What's wrong, Jetta? Stop. I'm gonna change my life. I'm moving in, right? So I pack my shit and I move in with Robin, and I had every intention of staying sober, you guys. I really did. But that didn't even last a week, okay? I get out of treatment. I start working full time again. My drug dealer Z calls me. I run into Gerald, my friend. I call Joe, and Joe's like giving me the third degree, not wanting to fuck with me. And I'm all upset about that, you know, and so I said, fuck it. And I called my friend Gerald, and I said, man, I'm coming over. Let's get fucked up. I got money. I just got paid. And see, y'all gotta understand, I always had money because I always worked. You know, a lot of people all hear him say like, oh, wow, you just fucking took advantage of the system. You're such a lazy. No, I worked. I paid for my fucking drugs. Thank you. I worked. And so I move in, I go over to Gerald's house, and I started at Tara's house. So I called Tara, and I'm like, I'm sad, I need to come over, let's kick it. And so I go over to Tara's house, I smoke some crack, and I get some meth from her, right? I get some meth from her and I shoot it. Well, right after I shot that meth dude, I started hallucinating. Bad! I started hallucinating that there was like fucking people coming after me and shit, dude. And I'm like, what did you do to this fucking shit, dude? It's not right. Like I feel weird, like I got a fever or something, you know? And she's like, I don't know, you know, like I got it from so-and-so. And I'm like, dude, man, this shit's fucked up. Like there's something wrong. Like I spiked a fever so fast, I was like at 104, dude. I'm like, no, man, this isn't meth. There's something going on. There's something wrong with me, man. There's something wrong with me. She's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just fucking tripping out. You're just fucking tripping out. I'm like, nah, man, there's something wrong. Like I can tell there's something wrong with this dope, dude. Like I don't feel normal. And so I'm steady telling her that I don't feel like myself and that there's something wrong. And she's steady telling me there's nothing wrong. She said, come on, let's go to the mall. You're just tripping, you know, you just need to get out and it'll make you feel better. And so I go to the mall with her. Y'all, I was fucking freaking out in the mall, seeing people that weren't there and shit. And so I was freaking out so bad, she took me back to the house. She takes me back to the house. I'm dripping sweat, dude, dripping sweat, okay? Like fucking pouring sweat all over me. And I'm like, dude, I can't fucking take this shit. The FBI is coming. I know they are. And she's like, whatever, Nicole. And she kind of just like starts ignoring me, right? Well, I fucking take off walking. I said, fuck this. I put my keys to my car in my pocket and I take off walking down the road. I didn't even make it across the street and the neighbor saw me, okay? The neighbor was like outside or something. And so the neighbor saw me and I went over to her and I started talking to her and she knew right away like something was wrong. And so she said, I'm going to call, you know, the police. There's something wrong with you. You need to go to the emergency room. And so I agreed that yeah, I probably do need to go to the ER. And she called the police and the police came and then they called the ambulance. So the ambulance comes and picks me up and I'm chilling and they're like, you know, trying to find out what's wrong with me. And I tell them, you know, I shot dope. And so they take me to the ER. You guys, this fucking dumbass ER at St. Vincent's, they leave my ass in the lobby for like fucking 3 hours hallucinating and freaking out. They finally take me back, right? They finally take me back to my room and they hook me up to all the things and they're like hydrating me. And I'm pissed at this point because I've been there for like 4 hours, okay? It is like midnight now. And so I looked at the lady and I said, I see Joe. Joe's over there across the way, right? I said, that's my friend Joe. Why is he doing here? And the lady looks at me and she's like, there's no one there. And I'm like, no, that is my friend Joe. I know Joe. I know Joe. She's like, there is no one over there. There's no one across from you in the other room. And so at this point, I don't know if they think that I'm like schizophrenic or what, but they just leave the room and they leave me in there. And I'm scared. You know, I'm scared. I think Joe's across the way. And so I fucking put on I took off my scrubs, left my flip-flops, and took off AMA. Walked smooth out of the emergency room. Deuces! It's like midnight and I'm walking down the street. And so I start calling Joe on his cell phone. And I'm freaking the fuck out. I'm like, dude, I need you to come get me. And he's like, where are you at? And I'm trying to tell him where I'm at. And then he hangs up on me. And so I get down to Kroger, my job, and I call Robin. And I'm like, Robin, can you please come and get me? Like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm really bad off. And I need you to come get me and I'll just go to sleep. You know, I'm living with her. And so she comes and gets me, her and her boyfriend do. They go and get my car from Tara's house and they take me, you know, back to their house, to our house where I live. And so I go in the room and I try to lay down and go to sleep. Well, I didn't go to sleep. The next morning, I guess, or later on that morning, I got up and I left and I went over to Gerald's house. Luckily, I had the day off. So I go over to Gerald's house and I'm like, man, I just want to hang out and get high. And he's like, that's fine, you know, let's get high. And so We're shooting Roxy's, we're shooting meth, and we're just getting high. You know, we're just hanging out. This is so crazy. So I'm shooting like Roxy's, I'm shooting meth, I'm just like really, really high. Okay, and at this point, I have started to hallucinate at Gerald's house. Only I'm hallucinating some wild ass shit. I'm looking in the vent, you know, the vents that come out of the air conditioning unit. Okay, the vents in the ceiling, and this is a trailer, y'all. This is a nasty, oh, let me just set the tone for y'all. The floor to this fucking trailer was fucking falling in, okay? That's how nasty this trailer was. When you would walk back to the room in the very back of the trailer, the very back room, and open the door, there was a big sectional couch in there, and then there was syringes everywhere. Syringes on the coffee table, syringes on the entertainment center, bottles of water, caps, everywhere. And everybody's back there shooting up, helping each other shoot up, or just fucking nodded out, right? So I come back there, and I'm sitting down, and Gerald is sitting down beside me, right? And I'm seeing, this is so hilarious. I'm looking at the vent, and I see Cy from Duck Dynasty. He starts poking his head out the vent. Y'all know this story. I've told it to you before. Cy from Duck Dynasty starts sticking his head out the vent, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like scared because he looks evil. He wasn't like Cy, like funny Cy. It was like evil Cy, okay? And he kept poking his head out the window and looking at me, and then poking his head back in the vent, right? And so I tapped my friend Gerald on the shoulder, and I'm like, hey man, do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see Cy from Duck Dynasty right there? And he's like, man, Nicole, no one's there, dude. No one's there. You're tripping, man. And I'm like, no, dude, I see it. I know he's there. And he's like, no, Nicole, there's no one there, man. Like, you're really fucked up, dude. And I'm like, man, whatever, you know, I'm getting pissed off because I'm like, whatever, y'all, everybody always says that to me, that I get too high, right? I get too high. And I'm like, man, whatever. And so I just kind of ignore him, and I sit there in that recliner for about 6 hours watching Cy from Duck Dynasty, okay? Finally, what ends up happening is I get tired of watching Cy from Duck Dynasty, and I go and I get up and I go into the living room, and I find Gerald, and I'm like, man, I need to sleep. Like, I need to sleep. And so he gives me a Seroquel, and I take the Seroquel, and I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. Well, right before I go to lay down, I call Joe, and I'm like, Joe, please come and get me. I give him the address to the place, and I ask him to come get me. And then I go try to lay down in the back bedroom with my two friends, my two gay friends. Well, I guess while I was in there, I don't know, I guess Joe came by trying to find me, and he couldn't find me. I was so upset because I was like, dude, I thought that you loved me. I thought you cared about me, and you can't even fucking come and help me out when I need you, you know? So it was probably like 10 minutes of me laying down, and I was like, fuck this, I can't sleep. And I got up and I started walking down the street. I left the trailer, left my car keys, left my Ford Focus in the driveway, and started walking down the street. Now it's like 2 a.m., you guys, 2 a.m. and I'm walking down the street, and I am in full-fledged hallucinations. I see my boss from Kroger, I see my parents, and then I see this lady's trailer, which is right across the way. And on her trailer, there is all these weed brownies, just piled up pieces of weed brownies everywhere. And so I'm like, holy shit, dude, I gotta get those weed brownies off her porch because the cops are gonna come. And so I run over to this lady's porch, and I start like jumping around on her porch and like flailing around. What I think I'm doing is I think I'm sweeping her porch with a broom. Honey, I wasn't doing shit. I was fucking like over there jerking and looking like a retard. Well, she sticks her head out the window or out the door, and she says something to me in Spanish. I have no idea what she said. She just says something to me. And then the next thing I know, a police officer pulls up. The red lights, blue lights, everything. And he's trying to get me to come off the porch, and calm down. And so I go over to him, and he gets my phone, and he immediately calls my mom and dad. And my mom and dad live in Hot Springs, which is like 45 minutes away. So he calls my parents, and my parents are like, please just take her to the emergency room, okay? Take her to the emergency room, and because she's an addict, and what's happening right now is she is in her addiction. And so the cop tells me, we're going to call an ambulance, and the ambulance comes. Now, I've already taken 2 ambulance rides in less than fucking 48 hours. Okay, so ambulance driver comes, I get in the back of the ambulance, and I automatically go into another hallucination. Only in this hallucination, this ambulance driver is trying to inject me with cocaine. And so I am fucking freaking out in the back of this ambulance, you guys. Like, I am fucking screaming and kicking and yelling and all kinds of shit. They finally get me to the emergency room, and they immediately put me in my own room, and the doctors and the nurses come in, and they're like, ma'am, what did you do? Did you do bath salts? And I'm like, no, I didn't do bath salts, and they're like, are you 100% sure you did not shoot up bath salts? And I was like, well, I'm not 100% sure, but I'll tell you what I did shoot up. And so I tell them, I shot up Roxy's, I shot up methamphetamine, I've taken some Seroquel, I've eaten some Xanax bars, I've even done a couple of lines of cocaine the other day, and so they know, like, I am fucked up. And so the doctor orders the nurses to give me a shot, 1 shot of Thorazine and 1 shot of Haldol. And that's supposed to put me to sleep so I can go to bed, right? Well, they give me the shot of Thorazine and they give me the shot of Haldol, and it didn't make me go to sleep at all. It made me start hallucinating even more, okay? And so now I'm laying in this fucking hospital bed, and I'm looking at the door in front of me, the hospital room door, and I'm looking, and I see underneath the crack of the door, I see Miss Marva and Miss Frida from Kroger. And they're smoking on a stem, and they're blowing crack smoke into the fucking room. So I get up off the bed, and I go over to the door, and I'm going like this underneath the door to try and smoke the crack smoke too. I stand up, and I look around, and I swear to God on the Bible, the walls are covered with frogs. Covered. The frogs that are like green with the black dots, yellow with the black dots, orange with the black dots, and the big eyes. They're all over the walls. For some reason, back when I was younger as a kid, I heard that if you licked those, or if you touched those frogs' backs, that they had a poison that's on their back that will make you hallucinate. So guess what Nicole does? In the emergency room, I start licking the walls. I'm licking the walls, and the nurse comes in, and she's like, what are you doing? And of course, I'm telling her that there's frogs, can't she see them? And so she gets me back up on the bed, and they give me another shot of Thorazine and Haldol, okay? Now, after that second shot, then I start to kind of feel woozy, and the next thing you know, everything went black. Everything went completely black. And I don't remember anything after that. Now, what happened was my internal organs started to shut down. My liver, my kidneys, my spleen, all that shit was shutting down, okay? So they called my parents and said, you need to come up here. Your daughter, we don't know if she's going to make it. She's in a coma. We need you to come up here because she might not wake up from it. And so my mom and dad rushed up to the emergency room, and for the next 7 days, my mom sat beside my hospital bed praying over me. My sponsor, Robin, was up there with my mom too. And so they're praying over me that I will wake up, Well, when I finally woke up, and there was my mom and there was Robin, and I started talking to them, and my mom is like, thank God, like, praise Jesus, you're alive. And my mom is crying, and my sponsor Robin is crying, and they're like, do you know what happened, Nicole? Do you know how long you've been here? And I'm like, no, what happened? The last thing I remember is being at Gerald's house, And my mom goes on to tell me, Nicole, you went into a coma. Like, you did so many drugs that you went into a coma, okay? And so I was like, damn it, dude, what the fuck? I don't remember shit. And so, but I don't remember shit, but guess what else I was thinking? I need to get out of here. I gotta get high. I gotta get high. I gotta get out of here. And so my mom's like, where is your car? And I was like, it's at Gerald's house. I left it at Gerald's house. You know what I mean? And so my mom took me to get my car. And I told her, you know, I'm not going to get high anymore. I promise. Yada, yada, yada. And she left. And I stayed there at Robin's house that night and got some sleep. But the next day, I was back at it again. Back in the streets, back getting high. I had luckily not lost my job. Somehow, like, I had managed to not lose my job. So I went back to work and I was just back at it again. Well, one day I was at work, probably like a week later, and I had taken a bunch of Xanaxes. And so I went to my job and I was at work working, and my boss comes over and he's like, Nicole, we need you to come with us. And I'm like, come with you where? And he's like, we're taking you to get a drug test. And I'm like, ah, shit, man, they fucking busted me. And I'm like, okay, cool, man, I'll go. I'll go with y'all. I ain't tripping. It's all good. I'm cool. I ain't fucked up. I'll go and take a drug test. And so they take me in my boss's car. They take me to the drug testing place. We get all the way there, and we get in there, and I look at my bosses, and I say, I ain't taking shit. See, by now the Xanaxes have kicked in, and I'm like cocky as fuck. I'm like, I ain't taking shit, man. I ain't taking shit. And so they're just like, oh God. And so we go back to the store, and I'm like, fuck it, man. I ain't taking shit. I'm leaving. Right? I left. Well, the next day I come to, and I know what I did was wrong. And so I go up to talk to my boss, and that's when he tells me, you can either go to treatment or we're terminating you. We're firing you, you know? And I was like, fuck. Okay, I'll go to treatment. And so I call my parents, and I'm like, I've got to go back to treatment. Like, my boss is ordering me there, or else I am going to get fired. And so my parents are thankful. They're thankful for my boss. I'm sure they called him up and told him thank you, because, you know, they couldn't get me to go. So I find a treatment center. I call RCA, the same one that I went to when I paroled out to the sober living, and I went into that treatment center. I go to treatment for 30 days. I do everything they tell me to do. I'm doing really well, and I graduate. And I'm back at work, only I'm not living at the sober living. Or no, I did. I moved into the sober living, and I maybe lived there for like 2 or 3 months, and I met a boy. His name was Tyler. I'll never forget Tyler, because he was younger than me, like significantly younger than me, like 10 years younger than me. He had blonde hair and crystal blue eyes. And honey, I thought he was fine as fuck, so I was going to make him my boyfriend. And guess what happened? I relapsed. Me and Tyler ended up relapsing together on cocaine. Well, after we relapsed together, he went off the deep end, something bad. And I was at work one day, and he came to pick me up. He had my car, because he was my boyfriend. He came to pick me up, and I was like, you know, got in the car, and he was like, you can drive. And so I get in the car, and I'm driving. You guys, I don't know what happened to this dude, but he flipped the script on me, and he grabbed my arm, shot me up with like a 40-unit shot of cocaine. I'm driving down the street, like I'm talking the interstate, and he just hit me with like a 40-unit dose of cocaine. My pupils go like this. I'm driving down the road. Damn it, my blush just fell out of the pan. Okay, I'm driving down the road. Damn, that sucks. And he just, like, out of nowhere hits me with the cocaine. And so I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, I'm fucked up. He takes my purse. He throws it out the window on the interstate. Takes my phone from me. Takes my SIMS card out of my phone. Okay? And is like yelling at me and screaming at me. And he ends up taking me to my friend Chaz's apartment. And I'm like, what is going on? He makes me sit down and he chains me or ties me to the seat. He ties me with ropes to the seat and is holding me hostage. For what reason? I still don't even know what happened. I still don't know why he did this. Well, my friend Chaz is able to like talk him into like letting me go and like telling him like, you know, Nicole didn't do anything wrong. You're just tripping. You're too high, blah, 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 blah. And so he gets Tyler to let me go. Well, Tyler ends up and lets me go, gives me back my phone. I put my SIM card back in my phone and I drive off. I go down the street, I grab my purse off the side of the road, and I'm tripping, dude. I'm like, what the fuck? But I know I got to go back to the sober living because that's where I live and I got curfew. Well, honey, I had done a bunch of Roxy's and I guess I just did too many. I don't know what happened, or I had taken Xanax too. But I get back to the sober living house and I'm standing outside in the back to smoke a cigarette. And I look at one of the guys that lives at the house and I'm like, dude, I did too much. I don't know what's wrong, but I did too much. And I get in my car and I drive and I make it next door to the pancake house, the IHOP. I make it next door to the IHOP and I park my car. I leave it running and I nod off on my steering wheel. Well, apparently I had overdosed and the cops found me. Overdosed on my steering wheel. And so I wake up and I come to, and guess where I'm at? The motherfucking hospital again. I wake up and I'm like, fuck, dude, what happened? And the lady's like, you overdosed. And I'm like, again? And she's like, what do you mean again? And I'm like, oh, I've been in the hospital for like the last month, like every other day on overdoses. And she's just like, oh my God. And I'm like, man, I got to get out of here. And so I get up and I leave. I go to the sober living house. I get all my shit. I throw it in my car. And I call my friend Tara. And I'm like, dude, I just fucking relapsed. Just woke up. I was in the hospital. I ain't got nowhere to go. Can I come stay with you? And of course, Tara's like, hell yeah, come on over. Because Tara knows that she's going to get free drugs if I come and live with her. You know what I mean? And so I went and moved back in with Tara and went right back to my life that I was doing, the drugs. Doing drugs and wreaking havoc. I still have my job because, like I said, they gave me my job back. They didn't fire me because I went and got help. But I'm still getting fucked up. Now, at my job, there's a lady named Lee. Okay? Whew. Lee is in recovery. And so Lee offers to be my sober sponsor, right? I don't like Lee, though. Lee, she knows when I'm bullshitting. And so I don't want her to be my sponsor, but she goes ahead and makes herself my sponsor anyway. Well, me and Tara end up getting into an argument, and I can't live there with her anymore because it's just toxic as fuck, dude. And so this begins my homeless, like, this is how I became homeless, okay? I had nowhere to go and nowhere to live, and so I just started, you know, living at different friends' house hopping, couch hopping from house to house. Shoot, at one point, I asked my motherfucking customers at Kroger if I could come sleep at their house. That's how, like, I just don't give a fuck, you know? And so, come on, you gotta go potty? Where's Jetta? Do you need to go potty? Nate, pick this up. Nate, pick all this up, please. Okay, come on, Jetta. So, anyways, I'm house hopping. I'm sleeping at my friend Tara's house on her couch. Not Tara, my friend Tanya's house. I'm just everywhere, you guys, everywhere. Well, one day this guy Hunter walks into Kroger, and he used to go to Cocaine Anonymous, and so I know him from Cocaine Anonymous. I'm like, hey man, what's up? And he's like, hey, and we get to talking, and we're chopping it up, and that's when he tells me, go ahead, that him and his girlfriend are looking for a roommate. And I'm like, well, what do you know? I'm looking for a roommate too, honey. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. But I need a ride to work every day. And he's like, okay, because guess what happened? My car got impounded. So one day I'm out and about with my friend Gerald. Y'all have heard about him many times in my story. Me and are out and about in North Little Rock. And I just bought some Roxy's. And so we're out in North Little Rock and we shoot them up in the car wash parking lot. And we do our shots. And then I'm like, okay, let's go back to your house and hang out. Sorry, y'all. I'm sweeping up this blush. I'm like, let's go back to your house, you know? He's like, okay. And so we pull out of the car wash parking lot and we're going back to his house. Well, guess what happens? Blue lights, baby. Blue lights all behind me. I'm getting pulled over. And so he immediately starts fidgeting in the passenger seat. And so the cop, when she pulls us over, she doesn't even fool with me. She grabs him out of the car and searches underneath his seat and finds a bottle of Xanax that he threw under there that have they're like not prescribed to anybody, you know? Well, then she comes over to my side and searches me. Well, what she doesn't know is that when she was coming over to search me, I grabbed my syringe and stuck it up my vagina. So I got a fucking cap syringe in my pussy, and she's checking me for drugs underneath my tits, everywhere, except for my, you know where. And so she's like, I'm sorry I have to do this, but I'm going to have to impound your vehicle because you don't have car tags or insurance. My dumb ass had just let my car tags and insurance lapse. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just happy that, like, she didn't bust me for having drugs, because I've already been to prison once for that, you know? So she takes my car and she impounds it, and I call my parents. Gerald goes to jail, and I call my parents and I'm like, Mom and Dad, can you please get my car out of the impound? I got pulled over. And my mom and dad won't do it. They said no. I said, what do you fucking mean no? I'm going to lose my car forever. I've had my car now for 12 years. I've had my car through my whole addiction. I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to get my fucking car out? And they're like, we mean exactly that. We're not going to get your car out. And so I was pissed. So now I got to figure out a way to fucking get my car or get money for it. Because I'm not just going to fucking lose it to the impound. So I put that bitch up for sale on the Facebook Marketplace. And a lady calls me. Second day it's up there. Hey, I'll buy that car from you. I said, well, there's a catch, ma'am. It's in the impound. But I'll take you down there, sign the title over to you and everything. She said, that's no problem. She gets me, picks me up, takes me to Hot Springs to get the title, drives me to the impound, pays the impound, gets the car, and gives me the rest of the money. $2,500 cash in my hand, bitches. So I'm like, I'm in the money. I'm in the money.
You know why you leave dog hair everywhere?
I'm fixing to vacuum it. I call my friend. I call my friend Alicia, and I'm like, hey, dude, I got $2,500. Take me to see my parents. Let me give them $1,000, and then you and me can go spend the rest of it, $1,500. And she's like, okay. And she's like, what are we spending it on? I'm like, bitch, what do you think we're spending it on? And she's like, okay, I'm coming. And so Alicia gets her, she has like a really nice Camry, like one of the ones that is like a gold edition. So she comes and picks me up in her Camry. We go to Hot Springs. We give my parents $1,000. And Nate, no, I'm busy right now. We give my parents $1,000. And we go and we call my drug dealer, Z. I'm like, hey man, what's up? I need 60 Roxy's and 60 bars. And he's like, what? And I'm like, you heard what I said. I need 60 Roxy's and 60 bars. And he's like, okay. And so he meets me and Alicia at the Sonic over on Broadway. Sorry, I'm changing purses. He meets me and Alicia over at the Sonic on Broadway and brings my ass 60 Xanax bars and 60 Roxy 30s. And I am so fucking hyped, dude. I'm like, shit. I don't care that I just lost my car. I don't care about anything because, baby, I'm gonna be shooting up all day, every day. And so me and Alicia, she went and got some rigs, and I swear to God, I probably spent the next 3 days in her car shooting up. Well, on like the second or